let's just get the notifications out there. And we can get started for the night. Okay, the word has been spread. All right, we are up. We are live. The mic is working. Changed our music selection up. Alright, so we changed up our music selection. All this week we've been listening to Remlay's When You Read the Black Library playlist, which I figured he'd filled with royalty-free music, but I got copyright struck on it for my second video, but not my third, fourth, or fifth video, which all had the same tracks playing. So I've disputed the copyright claim on the grounds that I'm not making any money off of this video. And we will see how that plays out. Remlays, if you ever manage to hear this stream, I hope you check that list so that you don't get copyright struck. But I went and found royalty-free zone sci-fi music, so that's what we're going to use in our background today. So tonight is our list reveal. Because last night I had some lingering thoughts on what I wanted to do. Did I want to change it up all of a sudden? Did I think I could still get... Did I think I...
Please be in that picture. Are you laughing at me?
Yes, I am laughing at my partner Jen, who is over here vaingloriously praying into the ether that she gets picked for a mentorship, and it's very funny to watch her freak out. She'll be okay in a couple of days, I think.
Tomorrow. I will know at 12:01. 1 minute after midnight tomorrow, and I'll know.
Oh, there you go. Everybody keep your fingers crossed for her. Alright, so let's see what we got. Tonight we've got lots of pouches to paint. That's what's going to be going on in our lower right-hand window. And then we're going to be 3D printing some more stuff. Our objective markers are done. Talk about... Alright. No, this light. On white things. So let's get some shade on here so you guys can see. I got my objective markers done. 3D printed out. Pretty good scale. I mean, that's a big barrel compared to a guardsman, but, you know, not bad. It could be a drum that size, I think, 40K. It's actually more, yeah, there it is. So that's a little bit of a big drum, but I'm okay with the scaling, and they're numbered on the top. So that's 1. So these will get painted up, have some more additional accessories added onto them, and I think they will look great. So we're going to have that going on. And tonight the big thing is the list reveal. We're going to talk all about this list. So we're going to go through it piece by piece. I'm hoping we can get some comments from people on what they think could be done better, last minute changes. This list has to get submitted at midnight. So there's that. So we'll go and scroll through all of this because there's no changing other people's list. They might see this and change their list before midnight, but I'm willing to let that much espionage go on between tournament opponents. I think it's only fair. So tonight is a struggle. Tonight is going to be a night where if I put the camera on me, you're going to see me smoking some cigarettes, like now. And you're going to see me probably drink. Oh, man. Do not try to talk into your microphone while smoking a cigarette. Do one, then do the other. It's just a thing. And yes, I know I need to quit, and that's fine. I will quit the day. Tell you what, I will make this channel a deal. I will quit immediately cold turkey and take all the consequences the day no one shrieks like a madman when someone says female Space Marines. I'm not saying Games Workshop has to make the models. I'm not saying any of that. If I say female Space Marines in a club and nobody shrieks like a madman, I will quit smoking right then. Immediately.
If y'all could see my face, I don't want to deal with you going cold turkey.
If they never shriek about it again, like someone wounded them, I'm fine with it. I've got no problem if somebody doesn't like female Space Marines. Who cares? If you think there should be a genetic all-boys thing because you're really hyping up the whole Crusader-era religious side of 40K, that's lore, baby. Go with it. Run it to your heart's content. Be a boys' club until the screeching ends of the universe. Just stop yelling at other people that want to do it differently. For God's sakes. Only one side in this argument is trying to force someone into somebody, and that's what we don't want. But there's my promise. I will quit smoking if somebody can make that reference and just get the standard blasé fandom response of, That's all we need to give. Just, Got My Little Pony armies, for God's sakes. And they're adorable. And I don't want to hear anybody talk bad about My Little Pony armies either. So those are my special snowflakes in the community, and I enjoy them greatly. Make more My Little Pony armies. I'm still surprised no one has done a Steven Universe army. Where are you guys at? Where are you Steven Universe army players? I know you exist. Don't tell me Garnet...
How would you work that, though? Because
Garnet would be a sick dreadnought.
Yeah, I'm not saying she wouldn't, but you've got to remember that they combine to become more powerful. Like, are there combined...
We got stuff like that. There's fusion, I'm sure. We steal from every other IP. I mean, like, we're Dune meets Dragon Ball Z meets Magic Girl, what is it, Madoka?
You guys need to pick a genre.
No, we pick all the genres. That's the point. That's why we're set 40,000 years in the future, so we can fit them all in. Everything from Arrakis to Event Horizon. We got it all. What? It's good stuff. You probably even have Babylon 5 have occurred. I don't think Star Trek happened. That would be disappointing to see that this is the inevitable result of Starfleet. Oh, that didn't go so well. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. We gotta see if we can invite some more people. Oh, I'm poking a bear's nest. I'm inviting a group of guys who I know to be exceptionally good at trolling, so we'll see if they troll me and see how I can hold up to them. They are the masters who I learn from. Let's see. Where else do we want to be right now? Got lots of things going on. I think our mic is a little too sensitive, though. Bring that down just a bit. Yeah, okay, I can get loud and not go into the red there. So, our lists. We have 2 lists we're going through. I'm going to show you the list that most people recommended I take and what I built first and what I planned for this build. And then a little later, I will show the alternate list I did, which I could accomplish if I gun it for all the rest of the days I've got left. I could accomplish this build. I'm not 100% sure they'll look as good as otherwise, but I think I could pull it off. I mean, it's already not going to be... At the speed I'm working at, there's going to be a lot that I'm going to go back over after the tournament just to bring them up to the highest quality I can do. But they're not bad at the moment. They would be what I call, you know, game-ready quality, not pro quality. Well, I mean, if we go by eBay's definition of what pro quality is, I'm well ahead of that already, so maybe we'll go through it. But I'm going to start, we'll wait for some more people to come in with some advice, leading the HQ sections. Ah, folks are showing up. Fantastic. We're going to start getting some of these pouches done because they're not going to do themselves while we think about it. So let's go through the list reveal. The very first thing we got on the list here is my HQ sections. As you can see right off the top, I've got 2 company commanders in this list. My colonel and my major. Not that that matters for anybody but the fluff. But that's just how I see it. XO is a major. Colonel is... Warlord is a colonel. Alright, so I've got one of them who is gipped out with bolt pistol, chainsword, and he's carrying the laurels of command. He's the warlord. I think I need to change that around. I want the bolt pistol to go on the major and have my warlord with just the standard las and chainsword, because he's going to be hanging back a bit. I plan on sticking him into an OP fortification where I've got good screening units on it. I've got him well defended, and it would take some serious chewing through to come get him. I even plan on keeping him out of LOS of mostly everything because I don't want snipers to come along and find him, because I'll be using the same tactic as you'll see a little later down this list. And I don't want it used against me to deleterious effect. And if anybody corrects me on how you said that word, I'm just going to look at you and go, it's the only way I can get that word out of my mouth. So I've heard some other weird pronunciations for it, and I don't care for it. So I'm going to go with deleterious. That's how I'm going with that. Hey, Cypher! Good of you to join us. Alright, let me move that model further up here so everybody can see where that's centered. Right about there. Okay. Good call, Cypher. Thank you for the tip. So, second company command. So, I'm going to flip that around. The bolt pistol will be on the non-warlord, but the warlord will still have Grand Strategist and Laurels of Command, because his job is to be an orders machine and deny the Slay the Warlord objective to my opponent. That is his part and parcel. The warlord, the non-warlord company commander, the major, who will have the bolt pistol when I rearrange this just slightly before sending it in, he is advancing with my flanks force. Thanks, Cypher. Appreciate that, man. Oh, so they the major, he's going to advance with the tactical squad. Or I'm sorry, the tactical squad. You can tell I used to play Marines a long time ago. The infantry squad that I have below that's hooked up with the plasma gun, which you can see the one with the heavy bolter there. But the plasma gun squad, which is going to advance with our armored thrust, that's where he's going to go. And his job is to give orders to the people moving up that way. Along with the tank commander, Knight Commander Pask we're taking. We're not taking him as the Pask, but we are going to use him for those extra special orders, and he's going to have some tank buddies that go with him. And he's going to be causing the main spearhead of our force. We're going to try to break towards the closest enemy objective. Hopefully, we might have a path to go for a close enemy objective that's in his deployment zone. The mission scenarios we're running this week have a lot of objectives that have line breaker in them, so we want to get into their deployment zone. And so if I can push my tanks up in there, that is the optimum, because it'll be the hardest to dislodge, especially once the infantry gets in and starts holding the ground that they've broken the enemy off of. I will want to capitalize on that. It's just too good to sort of leave off the table. I don't like to hang back with my tanks. I don't thrust them way out early, generally. I usually like to do a plotting, grinding, Montgomery-style advance, and then once I get them up the table enough that I think they can hold a bridgehead for me, that's when I start funneling the infantry in behind, and I become far more, I guess we could say, Abrams-esque at that point. Once the infantry has moved up to a mid-ground point, my tanks go ballistic. I'll try to move them, make them the largest threat, and make them so, since they're more survivable than my infantry, I will try to make them the more enticing target from the infantry and take the hits on it. If I lose tanks by the end of the game, fine. I'm okay with having tanks knocked out as long as I can keep the point score relatively even. There's nothing in this scenario that I read that's based on killing more of the enemy points. I guess that might get used for tiebreakers, but it's all about first blood, which I think I have a very good shot at taking, even in mostly in the first turns, thanks to the FAQ, stopping them from leaving their super valuable yet vulnerable units in deep strike and then just bringing them in on first turn movement phase, which I always thought that was a very cheesy tactic. There are plenty of abilities that represent that, where you deploy at the very end, it holds back, scout, recon moves, things like that. The idea of just hiding, a perfect way to hide, not a tactic I particularly would be drawn to. I can see why people would do it if it was within the valid set of rules. It makes an obvious sort of sense. But I'm glad it's gone, because I don't like the way that flow works. Alright, just all these little pouches. If you notice, I've been skipping the canteens. That's because I do the canteens a different color, just for a little pop. It keeps the belt from just looking like this big brown mass around their waist. The same thing with grenades. I'm a very classic believer in green grenades. I don't know why, they just stick in my head. Grenades are green, and that's just how it goes. So I've got a treatment for my grenades that'll be going on later. It's very quick and simple. It's one I could actually do the night before a tournament, and is one of the last steps I'm probably going to take on with these models, because it gets a different style wash than these guys. Because once this webbing gets done, the next step is the flesh on all the different exposed bits, which I have 3 different flesh treatments that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do one set, the other set, that, and once all 3 different flesh tones are done, then I'm going to wash the models. They're all going to get washed with Agrax Earthshade, and I'm then going to do a secondary wash over certain areas closer to their boots and down on the ground. I'm going to give them a wash by Army Painter that I find sort of is grittier and clings more to it, and it gives this extra damp, soaked through look to the leggings and things like that. I'm a fan of that look. And then once that's on, these guys will get set aside for the highlight phase, because then I'm going to move on to the vehicles in the list. And once we get to the vehicles in the list, we're going to focus on that primarily through the rest of the week. And in probably until... if I had to estimate, I would say getting all the vehicles done will probably take me till Wednesday. Now, next week I will be missing one night of stream for sure. Because I will... Well, I might not even miss it. It'll just be a very late night. I'm flying out to Cincinnati next week for a job interview. And I'm flying out and back the same day. So it is very likely I will be home very, very late and might even be too exhausted. I will definitely do a mini stream to let everybody know we're not doing a long stream if that is the case. But it is my goal, hopefully, to at least do a late stream that night, because I certainly won't be able to slack off and not work, because that is pretty much my last day for all things steps. I've given myself Friday for a mad scramble. That's Friday the 19th. But Damascus, where the tournament I'm going to, is not exactly close to my house. It's a bit of a drive, and it's an all-day tournament. So I'm going to need to get some form of sleep or no sleep at all. That's my two choices. I can't get a little bit of sleep. I don't operate well that way. I can go maybe 36 hours without sleep and be okay, but beyond that, I'm pretty terrible. And if I get less than 6 hours of sleep, I'm just utterly useless. So we'll see how that all works out. I am having a feeling I am not going to sleep, and so I will be rolling into that on a lot of energy drinks and really, really hyped up, especially with the cameras rolling, because I want to, if my opponents are cool with it, I want to battle report each of our missions sort of briefly. I don't want to slow down the game. Just want to put a camera near there, so right on us, so we can just say what we're doing aloud a little bit more. And everybody can know. Okay, so before I move on to one more guy, we're going to move down our list a little bit more because I want to do a full reveal of that. If you have any comments on my list whatsoever, please put them in comments. I'm looking for all kinds of advice. I submit this just before midnight tonight. So I'm ready to make some changes if I can, if I have the models. I've got a lot of models in reserve. So other than really wild things like, hey, you should throw a knight into this list, that's probably not going to happen. But I do have super heavy kits. I could put a Baneblade or a Shadow Sword, or really, I could put one of any of the super heavy tanks in and have it done in time. I've got plenty of Valkyries that I could bring over and add into this list. I thought about making it a flying list originally. I've got limited Tempestus Scions. I have the models to do like 4 full squads of them, but I don't know if I have the time to do that many of them, considering I spent the first week here on this big batch of infantry, and I'm starting to run behind a little bit. I got a comment over on one of the posts where we invited people. Let me go take a look at that real quick. Okay. Some other people are giving me list comments on other posts, so we're checking on this. Someone here is in favor of my list that contains the Hellhounds, being how nasty they can take on knights and things. So that's not so bad. Okay, so yeah, I think we're going to stick with the original list, which is this list that I've pulled up. I'm going to let my jitters settle down, and I'm just going to go with this. Okay, so first up, we're on command. Like I said, we have Pask. I gave him the track guards. He's in a standard Lehman Russ for just reliable hits. Reliable amount of damage, downrange, throwing it far. I thought about putting him in other variations of the Lehman Russ, and I just kept coming back to, no, I'm getting the best result out of Pask in a standard battle tank. That's how I'm going to go for it. Normally in bigger games, I would run Pask with a Vanquisher loaded down with heavy bolters. I would give him a Storm Bolter up there, because just with his ballistic skill, why wouldn't you? A Hunter Killer Missile. I'd load him down, but I'm a big fan of Pask in the Vanquisher. The Vanquisher makes him my Titan Killer, essentially. And that is definitely what I put Pask in when I just have Pask. If he's my only tank, I'm using him as a Vanquisher or as a Punisher. But that's getting sidetracked. I have Pask on here, essentially. Let me restart our sci-fi royalty-free music, because I don't want any more copyright strikes. They were not fun. That was really disheartening to see. Now, so next up on you guys get it. That's why I have Pask. So I've got two company commanders. One to take the orders needed, like fix bayonets, get back into the fight with the advancing section. And the advancing section is where I'm most worried about this list, and we'll talk about that in a second. The second company commander stays with the main line and is throwing fire downhill and holding objectives in our own zone. Then we have Pask. He is our tank commander for the advancing forces. And you all know what Pask is good for. I then have a Primaris Psyker in there, and his job, as you can see from there, is going to be to throw up Night Shroud and Psychic Barrier on my main line where my Warlord Company commander is, and the squads in front of them. We want to keep them strong and hitting hard, and that is our anvil. We need them to break across that. I can't go running with it. Then we have Tempester Prime included in the force. This is my Lucifer Black, one of the last Lucifer Blacks that goes around with this Crusade army that I play. And he is going to be wearing the Death Mask of Alinius. I have to spend the CP, yes, for the Lord Commander's Armory in order to get that. I'll be marking that on the sheet. He's got a Plasma Pistol and a Power Sword, and you guys know what Tempester Primes are for. They're for dropping in with Tempesters, or dropping in with Scions, and really wrecking stuff and giving them the orders. So that's where he is. Now onto troops. In troops, I've got the infantry squads that make the Guard so famous. They're set up into detached teams to show where they're going. The first section here is the main line. It's 3 squads, 2 heavy bolters. I'm sorry. This first one is the advanced squad. He's actually out of order now that I notice it. So the first squad is a heavy bolter, standard sergeant. Next one, mortar, standard sergeant, heavy bolter. So it's 2 mortar squads, 2 heavy bolter squads, and then a plasma squad. The plasma gun down here. The plasma gun is the advanced section along with one of the heavy bolters. So they will be moving up and screening for the tanks. I know heavy bolters are better if they're standing still, but that one is actually moving up to hold objective and then hold still. So we'll be using a lot of advanced orders with them, and then giving them orders to shoot anyways. The 2 mortar teams and the heavy bolter team, and 1 heavy bolter team, make up the main line. Plasma gun squad, heavy bolter squad, advancing screen for tanks. Pretty simple, easy as. And then the last troop squad that I have is a section of Scions. It's 4 standard Scions, 2 Scions with plasma guns, and the Tempestor, who I've given a bolt pistol and power sword to. And their job is to drop in on objectives and just really make a bad day for anything that gets in their way. So yeah, that's what they're for. I think they're going to do great at it. They're going to clean up hard. So that's the troops. Then, backing up my main line, I've got 1 command squad, 4 guys, sniper rifles. Lots of hits, easy to hunt characters, give them orders from the command squad there. Fantastic, and they're an additional screening unit for my Warlord. Then a Master of Ordnance. You'll see why we've brought him in just a second. And a Tech Priest Engine Seer. The Engine Seer will be going forward with the advance line and repairing Pask and his buddies along the way. Next up is our fast attack. We are using the Artima Pattern Hellhounds from Forge World. Now, we're going to have to convert these three. I have Chimera kits here, but I don't have any Hellhound kits, so we'll be using our 3D printer to bring us along, and I can show you an example of what I mean by that, if I can find where I put it. Yeah, there they are. We have these, just recently finished. These are our flame tanks that we're going to be attaching to the various side. We 3D printed this one as a test. We're going to make a few modifications to it to make it a little longer so it fits on the Chimera just the way I like it. But yeah, these are our extra fuel tanks that we're going to be going through, and we're going to use some extra bits to make the heavy flamer on the front of the Chimera turret look a little bit nastier. So those will be getting built in, and they are my charge. They are going in ahead of the tanks. They might be going in separate from the tanks. The thing about the Artima Pattern Hellhound is it blows up easier when it loses its final wound. It takes out everything within 6 inches, or, well, it does mortal wounds to things within 6 inches on a 4 instead of a 6. So this is a type of Hellhound that you put right up into the enemy's face. You want it right on their lines, and you want to make them basically deal with it, because they either shoot it blows up in their face, or it shoots them and blocks line of sight behind it. So it's an excellent screening unit. They're also fantastic to, as somebody mentioned in the Facebook post about this army list that I have up, they make a really bad day for knights. When they can get up on knights, they can really just pour enough fire in to take them down, especially with both their weapons being auto hit. They are a big fist in my army, but they are not a survivable fist. So I will have to work very hard to, whatever I end up sacrificing them for, I need to make sure it's worth it. So that's going to be a big portion of it. And then last up is the heavy support. We have 2 basilisks, because you got the big guns never tire. That is my fire support, and why I have the Master Ordnance. He'll be back there with them and crunching on them every which way, and then holding his artillery bombardment in store for where it's really, really needed. Maybe even almost bringing it down near himself or into the back line. And you see we've got a Hydra there. The Hydra will be accompanying the 2 Lehman Russ below it, along with Pask in the forward push. So that's a Punisher there for anti-infantry, and a Lehman Russ battle tank with just a heavy bolter in it, no sponsons. The Punisher and Pask have sponsons. The other battle tank just couldn't quite afford them, so that's going up there. So the Hydra, his job is flyers. Obviously, that's what a Hydra is for. But specifically who I'm looking out for there is Tau battlesuits that want to come in and wreck my tank's day. I'm going to be looking to take down any Eldar jet bikes that come screaming into view, and most importantly, anybody else who brought a Valkyrie. Those flying gunships can really, really put a hurting out. They're an underestimated flyer. If you don't believe me, go see Morty and Glory's tactics video on just how much damage a Valkyrie can put out as a hovering gunship, and it's incredible. So that Hydra is my counter to that. And also my Hellhounds. They might do some damage to any flyers that decide to wade out into the middle sections. So that is my list. That is what I am bringing. It has some weaknesses that I am concerned about. For one, this is the lowest amount of infantry I have ever fielded as a guard player ever. I would normally field twice this much infantry in a force I am fielding. However, looking at the objectives for the missions I'm going to be facing, I needed to be more mobile than the infantry was going to let me be. I needed to be able to run out, clear objectives, and hold objectives. So while I don't have a lot in the way of holding objectives, 6 squads, that's it. maybe I could move that sniper command squad up in the last minute, or have him sit back and hold an objective. That is a possibility, but it's rough. So I'm gonna have to work really judiciously to size up where my opponent has deployed, what he's got in reserve, what he can bring down on there, because I'm not gonna be able to take every objective. This is not a list that is going to do that. This is not a list that's going to table most opponents. I have no illusions of being able to throw enough firepower to table them. I do, however, have enough for, I think, just about any force that I'm going to run up into, enough to stop cold their plan. And I think that might be enough for me to capitalize in that moment. If I can see their main push and I can blunt that, I might be able to work out very quickly from that situation, once it's stalled, what I can then capitalize on, what I lost to take it, what I lost to blunt him. And since I know that I'm waiting for this moment in the game, I might have the advantage on coming up with a secondary plan before they can. And that's what I'm going to have to hope here. I mean, I have not fought competitive 40k in a long time. I've never fought with this group before. I have no idea what I'm facing. As far as I know, this could be an entire club full of Tau players, and I'm just going to get riptided to death. Or I could be facing a bunch of orcs, in which case the biggest downside to my list is, do I have enough infantry to hold out in that charge? Or could I redeploy it fast enough to blunt that charge with my own armored divisions? And honestly, I'm not sure. It is going to take some really quick thinking on my part to make this anything more than a bloodbath. And I'm looking forward to it. I think I can pull it off. I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in the men, as the commissars would say. They'll fight for the Emperor, they'll die for the Emperor, and yada, yada, yada. But I'm excited to actually just get back out there and playing again. It has been a long hiatus for me. I tend to obsess over armies. When I want to get them done, I want them to be the prettiest looking things out on the field. I definitely am one of those people you can say who plays to paint. Painting and creating them is definitely my focus. At various times in my life, I've definitely been more of a player than a painter, but right now, in my 30s, there's nothing I love more than to build a force, create it, just for even display and the stories I can tell about it. I end up using my armies for RPGs a lot more than I end up using them for games, but Kill Team is what got me back out. It's like I could easily put together a Kill Team force that would be fun to play with, and I went out and I did that and really been loving it. So I wanted to get some competitive 40k going. I wanted to start playing at my local stores. Right near one of the best friendly local game stores on the planet. Games and stuff in Glen Burnie. Friends of mine for years. Always treated me very, very well. No matter how long I've been on hiatus or swing back through. And let's see, what else is going on? No, other than that, it's mostly going to be a time crunch for painting. So feel free to hang out, make comments. If there's a part of that list that you'd like to take a look at, think I could do a little bit more, have any tips for how to use any of the pieces I've taken in my list, a tactic with them I might not have thought of, I'd be happy to hear it. And other than that, we are just going to put paint on models for the rest of the evening, because that's what we got to do. This is a hobby that takes love and work. You got to put in the work, and well, that is what's taking up my time right now. Let's see here. This guy needs some touch-ups all around, actually. It looks like his coat might have pulled back and been a little too watered down when I put it on, because there's a lot of faded bits that are missing. Yeah. Let's do some touch-ups on this guy real quick. So we're going to need those and his Xandri Dust. So let's get just a little bit of the Deathworld Forest first, because that was what I saw was missing the most. A little bit on our wet palette. A little bit of water. Pick him up and let's get to the fixing. First, that mistake I just made by putting some paint on his arm. And then, yeah, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but right up under his arm and chest just did not get painted the first time, unfortunately. Some spots on his blouse there. Get him touched up all around. Make sure we got it everywhere else. Get it in his collar. Oop, missed a spot in the collar. There we go. And we're just going to put a slightly heavier wash across this skirt, because this just seems lightly painted here. I think it was too watered down the first coat I did, which happens, but that's why I always do this in steps, so I can go back along, see where things are missing, where things are incorrect, and bring them up all to a quality standard. And I'm well aware that most of the detail that I have to go through is because I picked a pretty tough scheme for painting. With this many varied colors and varied uniform pieces, the extra work is all of my own doing. I could have easily just said, they wear all black fatigues like the Tanith, and this would have been a job of primer and dry brush from the get-go. And if I hadn't already started on this color scheme, I very well might have done that for this tournament. But these guys were already partially on the table, having been through months of me color testing and checking and get everything just right. So it was the look I really wanted to convey. I didn't want to start back over. So, yeah, it's a bit more of a time crunch than it normally would have been. It put me right about where I wanted to be to finish the day before the tournament. And that's kind of what makes this exciting, right? Am I going to get this done? Am I going to finish this? Is everybody going to get a good laugh out of that guy? 1750 points in 15 days. Who was he kidding? Well, one, I know that's not even the most ambitious goal I've ever seen. That's not even the most ambitious goal I've ever done. Long ago, I mean, doing 1,000 points in a week is relatively easy and has been done many, many times by many, many people. I know people who have put armies together overnight and gotten them, you know, just within that, yeah, that model's painted quality, you know, a couple of nights before. But I figured 15 days for 1750 points, knowing what I'm aiming for on all of these guys, will actually be kind of impressive. At least to me. I will be impressed with myself. I hope I will be entertaining to watch as I get there. I am sure next week, when I come out of this weekend, all of my calm veneer will be gone. I will no longer be, oh, you know, this is fantastic, we'll just get this painted, everything will look good. No, I am fairly certain on the 17th and 18th at least, I will be freaking out to a most humorous extent. The more I freak out, the more I will probably quote TTS and try to, you know, channel my inner Rogel Dorn and get things done. But every now and then, I'll probably be looking more like Magnus on a bike, running around just, yippee! And such things as that. But, you know, we're going to keep going. That's what this series is about. It's the first series for this new channel. After that, we're going to be doing some gaming tutorials, army lists, battle reports, lore videos. Oh, I cannot wait for the lore videos. We're going to have some fun with those. Those are being researched right now. I'm currently reading through First Heretic, and then I've got to go back and do some more research based on the revelations in that book reread some passages in Horus Rising and False Gods to get all my theories and sounds, and then we're going to start with our lore series. The first lore video is already researched. I just have to finish the script, put that in there, and that's going to be covering prehistory. I consider Warhammer prehistory in the sense, since we're doing the lore from an in-character perspective, prehistory will be anything pre-M29. So M29 will be considered the age of the Emperor. So that is when he revealed himself and went about trying to unite the techno-barbarian tribes of Earth. But the first video is going to be on prehistory, so that's going to cover War in Heaven, the old ones. We're going to go over, I guess we'll talk about the Catan, or Ceton. We can. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. It's in my opinion, the muddiest part of the early mythology, and that's how I see it. It's somebody's mythology. The Ceton are not part of the active 40k universe, in my opinion, and I just choose to ignore Void Dragon. Until Void Dragon becomes plot relevant, as far as I'm concerned, nope, didn't happen, doesn't exist. I'm a much bigger fan of the old implied version of the Machine Spirit and the Omnissiah, and it's just that they don't quite understand how operating languages work and AI. So for all their don't make machines that can think, they have one. It's just actually seems to be benevolent in most cases. So yeah, I don't like the Void Dragon, but we're going to do that in the first video to talk about all of the War in Heaven, the Necrontyr, the Eldar, the Quarks, the Origins, the Fall of the Slann, and mostly just to get it out of the way and to give context. Then we will do the Eldar, which will be a little bit more in-depth, because I believe they deserve their full history looked at. Most of what we're going to talk about with War in Heaven is the Necron dynasties and their actual lore. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And then once we're done with Eldar, we will obviously move on to the Great Crusade, the Unification, or I'm sorry, the Unification Wars, then the Great Crusade, and all the other fun bits through there as the Horus Heresy progresses. And we'll keep adding to, we'll be going back and adding to that periodically as the new Horus Heresy books come out. Sorry, I got some of my brush from that. I accidentally struck this model with it, so I'm just coating that with water to clean him up. There we go. Didn't knock him at all, did I? Let's move him over there. Alright. Let's keep adding leather tone to all these pouches. Yep, as exciting as it is. Yeah, so we'll do the Horus Heresy. We'll add to that as the last Black Library books come out. Then we will move on to War of the Beast era and start diverging around the Imperium as the different other factions start having their lore moments hiccup. So we'll hit, obviously, Lore of the Beast for Imperium and Orcs. We will talk about the Scouring and what the Traitor Legions were up to as they fled to the Eye of Terror and elsewhere. We will be going over probably the Reign of Blood with Gog Vandire, and the Age of Apostasy. Let's see, what other trials and tribulations do we'll need to cover? We're definitely going to try to find as much lore out about the War of the False Primarch, because I find that to be one of the best story hooks they've never developed on in the game. Anybody who's fans of the mystery around the 2nd and 11th Legions also really, really loves that era. So that should be a fun place to throw some theories in, discuss some alternate canon pieces, discuss exactly what GW canon is and how it works, and why it is different than other intellectual property canons. Like, it's not like Star Wars. It's not whatever was written as it is. It operates very much on the everything is canon. Everything that has come out, all the stuff that's gone on, everything they've ever published, it's all canon, just not all of it's true. So you get to sort through that. And I choose, for the bits I don't like, that's where I go into the but not all of it's true phase. So for me, I don't think there's Void Dragon locked up on Mars. I think that's what some people think it is. I think that's what some people have said it is, but I don't think it's true. I think whatever they saw in Mechanicum when they went there was not Void Dragon, was not some ancient Catan star god, but was some massively complex human intelligence turned into a computer, or Xenos intelligence, or something of that nature. But you come to find I'm not a big fan of super mystical Deus Ex Machinas. I like things to be rather rooted in the mundane, and I find them more fantastical for having been so. Because it adds to the wonder of this world, rather than saying it must come from another world for it to be this fantastic. That, and I enjoy the writing that's gone through to explain it. I think actually one of my favorite Black Library authors, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, Dan Abnett, who I've had the pleasure of meeting on 2 occasions, does a really great job of stretching and delineating exactly how fantastic the natural world is, even with or without the warp, and what things that they describe as the warp but aren't, and things they tolerate, like the Tanith inbound traits to know their direction and operate in the shifting woods, and that's just a mundane feature of them. Some people accuse them of being tainted, but no, these people from a forested world that's incredibly hard to navigate are just naturally excellent at knowing where they are and how to survive in disorienting environments, and I think that's fantastic. McVenner is another great example. No spoilers, but the fact that McVenner is as awesome as he is for no other reason than he just worked hard. And you guys should really go read the Gaunt's Ghost series if you don't know how awesome McVenner is. Just, wow. Dan, I don't know where you came up with McVenner, but wherever it was one of the best parts of your brain ever. Just... And those people who want to throw in comments, yeah, but wait until you find out I'm already on Armor of Contempt. I know. Don't go starting with me. Alright, so we're just doing some touch-ups on another one, as you guys can see. When I did the Steel Legion drab on the legs, it seems like I was a little too heavy with my water there, which I'll admit is something I do a lot with my browns. I don't know why, but I tend to overwater them. I always feel like they're too thick when I look at them going down on the model, and then I come back later and realize they need yet another light coat. But it's okay. This is why I do it as one of the first steps, so I get plenty of chances to look it over. So, yeah. What we're doing with the webbing, so it's the bayonet sheath, the spare las pack case, the webbing up the back, and the belt around the front. That is what we're doing in XV88. All the other webbing gets a different color. Also, the mess kits. I don't actually know what these are. I think they're like the mess kits. So I put the guy who's in charge of that for each squad carries one of those. I guess they could be det packs or mines. I've thought about using them for demo charges. I'm a big fan of special weapons squads with demo charges, especially in narrative games, where I feel that special weapons troopers become affordable. Match play, they're just not worth the points that it costs. And then having to use the index to get the demo charges is a little annoying as well. But there it is. There's no change in stats. It's just an extra book. And that's cool. I will make do. What I'm really hoping... Somebody asked me the other day, was like, what would you want from Games Workshop? And this was just me in response to telling someone to calm down. October's still going on. They haven't been let down. They're going to get their models. And somebody was asking me, you know, well, you're a guard player. What do you want for your guard that you never seem to get? And I had to think about that, honestly, because Games Workshop gives me a good bit as guard. I mean, I got a lot of kits to choose from. I've got eons of specialty models that are out there that I can get on eBay and things like that. And I collect them up as quick as I can because I know they eventually, one day, they won't be able to be found. Speaking of which, if anybody has a Talarn sniper, I'm very, very interested. It's the limit. It was never released. Very few people have them. But I would like to get a hold of a Talarn sniper. If anybody has a Mordian sniper, I've never seen one. I would really, really like that, though. I have plans to convert a couple. I might just end up doing that. But I've never heard of a Mordian sniper, but if anyone knows of one that existed, that would be fantastic. I make my sniper command squads to look like they're snipers from all different regiments. The way my lore works is I run a crusade army, so I command it from the perspective of a general in charge of a force, and I get different forces assigned that I assemble for missions. I think a lot of people talk about who their favorite general is, and they go off the more major people in the lore. There's, you know, Macarius or Creed, or you got Strachan as pretty much one of the most badass colonels there is. I am a big fan of some of the lore generals, most in particularly General Van Voigts. General Van Voigts is part of the Sabbat Crusade under Makaroth. I believe he served under Slato too. I'm fairly certain he did. But I really like Van Voigts. He's practical. He's... Oh, sorry. Didn't have my model on screen there. He's practical. He's a moderate when it comes to, you know, the extreme rigors of the Adeptus Munitorum. He stands up to the commissariat. He stands up for his commanders within his ability. Sometimes his hands are tied. That's unfortunate. But he's what I consider a good general. And some of the theaters of war you get to see him operating in, and the way the mixed forces he has at his command. And he didn't get a choice. He got an order. Go take that planet. Do it. I need that planet secured for the Imperium. And Van Voigt's response, he only gets one answer, and it's, yes, Makaroth, I'm on it. And off he goes. And then, no matter what forces he gets assigned, rerouted to him, any of that, he still has a mission to do. Just because he didn't get like the best troops in the world doesn't mean he still doesn't have to take that planet. So I am a big fan of making my regiments look like the task forces that would be assembled in an Imperial combat zone. Very rarely is a regiment deployed by itself to an area. However, they do get put under the command of the most seniors there, and that's how I assign my regiment doctrines to mixed forces. If whoever has operational command, the troopers in the crusade are all expected to be briefed and adhere to the battle doctrine that is being prescribed by that person in command. Now, I know some people might say, well, that's terrible. People should use their own specialty. Yes, one, the rules don't allow for that. I can't get multiple regimental disciplines in the same force org or formation. I can take multiple force organizations. That's doable. I could, instead of taking this brigade, I could have taken several battalions with different commanders and different regimental doctrines, and I have been looking at how I might do that in larger games for sure. Having a Mordian gun line right out in front, screening for a position of Steel Legion that is ready to rapidly redeploy Oh, there's just so many. Um, Heck, the Vostroyan doctrines are even kind of interesting and useful now. They're situational, and you have to know what you're up to. But if I was jumping into a narrative campaign and I knew what forces I was facing, like if I knew I was going to be coming up against, I don't even know, like if I knew I had to fight a whole campaign and every battle was going to be against the Tau, I really might consider taking the Vostroyans. Because then the Tau and I are trading fire at range. And it comes down to who's got more, and it's gonna be me. I think if I had to fight Tau, and I knew the player was using heavy fire warriors because I knew my friend's collection, I would take a few things that would be anti-battle suit, and I would throw infantry at him. I mean, brigade after brigade of infantry. The heavy weapons choices would just be mortar squads. The fast attack choices would just be sentinels. The elite's choices would be platoon commanders. And I would just be giving orders and laying down volleys of fire at that range. Mordians I really like. If I was facing something that was mostly characters, like a Death Guard army just full of poxwalkers protecting a bunch of sorcerers, Mordians. I'd stand my ground and I'd shoot those characters to dust. Same with Nids. There's nothing I'm going to do close combat wise against Nids. The only thing I can do there is set up the most impenetrable, hard to chew through line that I slowly roll and fall back and shoot out those synapse creatures as quick as I can in the various positions. And then hopefully by turn 3, I'll have sucked enough of his reinforcements and push out of the pocket that I can start dropping in maybe some Tempestus Scions behind them and secure objectives that way. Maybe an armored push up through them. But not much else. This tournament, I'm taking Cadians because, again, that's my choice for when I don't. For my best all-around guys, it's Cadians. They have orders, doctrines, and stratagems that help against anybody. You can use. There's a Cadian stratagem that's just as good at taking out a squad of Traitor Space Marines as it is taking out a knight, and that's overlapping fields of fire. And you just gotta lay in with your Cadian units, get that wound on that thing you want gone, and then lay everything else out with it. It's one of the reasons I have the las cannon on Pask. It's one of the reasons why I've got the snipers. Is just get the hit, get the wound, especially if I get one of the 6s on those snipers. That's automatic mortal wound. Pay the CP for overlapping fields of fire, and then drop every long range thing. The mortars from the holdback squad, the basilisks. Train the Hydra down on it at that point, since it's got the +1 to negate for its not being airborne, or please let it be an airborne target, and then really strike that thing down. But overlapping fields of fire is what actually makes the Hydras useful to Cadians. Is if you hold your Hydras shooting until the end, and you watch for the opportunity for an overlapping fields of fire, if you don't already have a flyer targeted, then your Hydra's quad autocannon is really going to punish whatever you decide to put it at. That quad autocannon, it might not be the most devastating weapon in the world, but it puts hurt downfield and at range. There's nothing that it can't hurt. There's nothing that shrugs it off like it was nothing. It's a good weapon. It's just hard to hit the guys on the ground with it. But overlapping fields of fire, that negates that penalty. And then you can take a look at it with other... you can use some other quick ways to get the targeting up on that. And they're coming to mind right now specifically to the Hydra. That's one thing I really actually wish the Master of Ordnance. I wish there was either another version of him, or he got something to bolster, because I really wish he helped out. He helps out with Griffin, or he helps out with Wyverns, he helps out with Basilisks, and he helps out with Manticores and Deathstrikes. But it'd be great if he would help out the Wyverns too. That would be really, really useful. Messages came in. Don't really have any expertise on that. Alright, well, we've lost viewers, and I think everybody's gone out for the night. Oh, no, people are back. So, glad people are here. We're just working on our webbing pouches, getting them done, managing our list. Our list is up for review. If you'd like to take a look at the full list and offer comment on it, just comment right there in the chat section, and I will scroll through the list, and we can go over, and you can give me your appraisal. I'm looking for all feedback. Tell me I'm a moron and I'm going to get tabled. I'd really like to know that ahead of time. Or if you think there's a fun tactic in my list I might not be aware of that I can do, please feel free to point that out. Looking for all the competitive 40K help I can get this evening. Let's put some more paint down on these models as we go, because nothing like wasted time. Alright, oh, our music stopped again. This is a strange playlist that just keeps clicking out. Let's just go to shuffle then. Why don't you play? Or am I at the bottom of the list? Is that the problem? Oh, it's the bottom of the list. So let's just go back up to the top then. We're going to skip those ads because I don't need those kind of copyright strikes in my life. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so all about throwing paint on models, so let's get that going. Alright, webbing pouch, all set. Easy to paint, it's a square. Not too much to worry about. It'll be nice when I add reinforcements to these guys, and I will paint things like I normally do on the sprue first and then attach them. This is not my preferred way of painting with an assembled model, but that's just what happens the way I ended up collecting these guys. One of the converted Hellhounds we're going to do, we might do on an assembled chassis I picked up from a guy who was just primed and put together, but a lot of it was glued together, and I like my pieces to have functionality and move and magnetize. We're going to be magnetizing a rust this Saturday. That should be a fun video for everybody to check out. Plan is to fully magnetize a rust kit and a demolisher kit to show people the difference. And we're going to be showing some of the fun accessories we're going to be putting on to the Punisher specifically, because I've got some special plans for that tank in this army, and using some stratagems that I don't think get used often enough that are really going to help bolster my lines. Alright, so let's dry that paint on there. I gave this guy lots of extra ammo. He's one of my grenadiers. Yeah, my absolute favorite stratagem in all of Astra Militarum has got to be grenadiers, allowing up to 10 guys to throw their grenades instead of weapons, especially since frag grenades do a D6. That's a lot of hits that you can throw right out onto the field. Really mess somebody up. It's great if cultists are coming in on you. Really show the Alpha Legion what for. Not that the Alpha Legion care if their cultists go down, they'll have more. But it's nice to really put a hurting on one of those squads early on that he thinks is going to tie me down. But in addition to that, Grenadiers, I think, is most effective when used with Tempestus Scions, because they have the crack grenades, and Tempestus Scions, up to 10 of them, all throw in a crack grenade into a squad of Chaos Marines or a tactical squad that's coming at them, or even an Inceptor or an Intercessor squad. They are really good at knocking them down there because of the 2 wounds. That really helps smack the Primaris around a little bit, and I'm kind of a fan of knocking down Primaris. I'm not quite sure where I stand on the Primaris thing yet. I love the models. I think they are some of the most gorgeous kits Games Workshop has come up with to date, but I really wish Games Workshop had just made them true scale Marines. I know there's lots of other Marines and things that are out there and people would be complaining about scale, but I think they would have gotten over that a lot quicker than everybody thinks. I think that's still the inevitable plan, is to replace all Space Marines with Primaris Marines. I don't know that for a fact. That's just what I assume is going to go down with how I read the lore. But I'm going to have to wait and see how those books go. I really enjoyed the stuff Guy Haley put out for Dark Imperium, and then I really enjoyed the Custodes novels, reading about what was going on in Terra and getting the full timeline of how Gathering Storm sort of broke down and where it went. I wish we could have seen more of the Indomitus Crusade. I wish that was something that was going on that we were playing through rather than just skipping over, but I get it. Happens. We can refight those battles all we want on our own tabletops to get to the end. However, I am sorely disappointed in Guilliman because, yes, he's been on Crusade for 100 years, but if the state of the Imperium is as we currently see it in the lore, and the Indomitus Crusade went on for 100 years, he's not very good at being Guilliman. I mean, you'd think he would have turned things around by now. In 100 years, think about, that's 3 generations of people? 2 generations of people? I mean, you can stomp out a religion in that kind of time, even Imperium-wide. So if he wasn't a fan of the Ecclesiarchy, I'm not quite sure why it's still around for any other reason that no matter what Guilliman's feelings on the matter are, Games Workshop's feelings that there is an Ecclesiarchy and it's a thing we're going to deal with is more of what's keeping them around. So I am officially accusing the Ecclesiarchy of having plot armor at this point. But that's cool because I like Crusaders. They're a useful addition to us Astra Militarum armies. I love those unkillable murder bastards. Well, not unkillable, but it's nice to be in a guard army every now and then, and you see the Necrons constantly getting up every turn with repair protocols and what other crazy abilities they've got. It's nice to have a squad of our own that can regenerate some wounds, bring people back up. And there's nothing better than a 2-person Crusader squad where each turn your opponent takes out one of them and you just roll a 2 up the next turn and bring that guy right back. That is a squad that can earn itself back in points really quickly. I did not take Crusaders this time in the end. I had them in my original list. I was planning on dropping them in via Valkyrie, but I've moved away from that. One, because I thought the Valkyrie would be too much to try to get done with everything else, and I would have to rush it to a point that I wouldn't be happy with it. And 2, I just thought it was stretching my list out a little bit too far into trying to do a little bit of everything. And I decided to focus down onto some pretty basic strategies with the guard and focus all the effort into 2 main thrusts of the army. I have a hammer and I have an anvil. I went very, very simple. So I'm going to try to use my hammer to swing around and knock them down and then pin them between the head of the hammer as it swings in from a flank and close the door, close it like a hinge so that they're forced up against my anvil as the hammer comes sweeping down. And then the goal is, with the infantry that my tanks are bringing along with them and the hammer, they will be able to hold any objectives that we oversweep as we move along with the heavier hitting tanks and swing back into the lines. And then my stationary line at that point can try to advance to meet the tanks. And along the way, I've got those Tempestus Scions ready to drop in and reinforce the advance of the hammer when they're most needed, either on turn 2 or turn 3, because that's the only time we can bring them in now. They're not brought in by turn 3, they're out of the game. And while I can see that being kind of tactically limiting, in match play I get it. Match play isn't a lore-based scenario where you ask the question, but why can't my guy do that? Obviously, you don't bring physics into match play. Match play is a game of chess. And in chess, you don't ask, well, why does the bishop only move diagonally? Wouldn't it be better if he just went straight ahead? Sure, he could, but he's the bishop. He moves diagonally, and you just live within those restrictions. And I got no problem with that. That makes perfect sense for creating a competitive environment between two people to test their skills into some agreed-upon rules. You don't need in match play to have crazy brinksmanship, out-of-nowhere, off-the-wall strategies. They do happen within the rule set, but they don't need to be accounted for within the rule set. That's not what we're going for. We're looking for more just straight one-on-one competition at that point. Got some paint bleed going on over here. So we'll leave him aside to dry for a second. We'll come back and fix him up. But we've been going for a good long time now. So I think I'm just going to go and scroll through the list one more time if anybody wants to leave comments later if they see this video. I have until midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time to submit this list, and the current list as it's looking at is 2 company commanders, one of which is Warlord. I've got Knight Commander Pask, Primaris Psyker, and a Tempester Prime. 5 infantry squads, 1 with a plasma gun, 2 with heavy bolters, 2 with mortars. A Master of Ordnance, a Tech Priest Engine Seer, command squad all with snipers, a Scion squad with 2 plasma guns, 3 Artima Pattern Hellhounds, which we will start the conversions for tomorrow, and then we have our 2 Basilisks, Hydra, and Lehman Russ tanks to back up Pask. 1 is a Punisher, 1 is a standard Lehman Russ with no sponsons. So that's what we've got. I hope everybody has a good night, and I'll be on for the long stream Saturday, and probably a longer one Friday. I will have some guests over in the studio that night, so they may jump on a stream. We may play some other games while I paint. I think that's probably what's going to happen Friday is we're all going to play a board game for everybody's enjoyment and entertainment, and I will be painting my butt off sitting at the table when that goes on. So in the meantime, everybody stay cool, show good sportsmanship, have a good time. I haven't really come up with a sign-off phrase yet, and I might never. But in the meantime, everybody, just chill. Have a good time. All right. Have a good night.
Who do you think is playing board games on Friday?